Good morning and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. Today is December the 2nd, 2021. Imagine that, December already. I'm coming to you from southwestern Ontario in Canada. For those that may be new to my channel, I am focusing mostly on finished objects, crocheted finished objects, because knitting and I just don't hit it off. And the things I crochet are mostly wearables, like scarves, infinity scarves, ponchos, shawls, cocoon cardigans, that kind of thing. I'd like to encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe, to comment, and to hit that like button. Everything helps. And watching the entire video is also a big help. And also, if you are new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would go back and check out some of my own other videos, as this is only video number 11, so there aren't that many to catch up. And it'll tell you a little bit more about what I'm about and show you some lovely finished objects. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different, but I'll get to that in a moment. First, of course, we have to start with, what am I wearing? Well, I'm wearing what I call a fashion scarf, although this is much heavier than what I usually do and a little bit bigger. And there it is, you can see, and it goes out to a point on both sides. It starts at one point, you increase to the middle, and you decrease on the other side. And as I warned you back at the beginning, a lot of these items that I've had for quite a while. I made them several years ago, so I don't always remember what pattern I used, although I'm thinking this looks very similar to another one I made, which was the Fire and Ice, made with shawl and the ball. And I do have one of those I will show you at a later date. But I can't swear that that's what this pattern is, but it's very similar to it. And I think I made this twice. You see that it has open lace work in some rows. Those are actually crossed double crochets, the cross stitch. And I did one that was solid without the cross stitches in it. And today I wore this because we just had this past weekend our very first snowfall for the year. And when I look outside, I see snow on the ground and it just makes me feel cool. And I thought, being so chilly, I would wear something warm, because this is made with a heavier yarn. I'm going to say it's probably worsted weight, and you know that I don't use a lot of worsted weight. I deal more with fingering weight and maybe sport weight. And so I don't have the actual link for this pattern, and I have no idea what yarn I used. I can't even picture it. Usually, even though I don't remember the name, I can picture the yarn and the ball. I can't even picture this, so I don't remember what I used. So sorry to say. Okay, the next thing we want to do is look at, what is Hope wearing? And Hope is starting to get ready for Christmas. Notice her nice red poncho. And this red starts out very light. It gets darker, and then it transitions into charcoal and actually black at the very bottom. And I think in the black, better than anywhere else, you can see the sparkle. There is a red sparkle thread running through this entire poncho, but it isn't as obvious up here. I can see it looking at it in the lighter colors, but I really can't see it in the red unless you're close up. But very beautiful, very soft. This is quite a large one. And let me tell you, first the pattern. The pattern is called Poncho Woolly Whirl. And it's called that because the designer used a sheepy's woolly whirl. Someday I will talk about that, but I didn't use a sheepy's yarn. What I used for this with the sparkle, because you know how I love my sparkle, I used Yarn Art Flowers Moonlight. And the Flowers Moonlight is a complete line of the cakes, the flower cakes, but with sparkle. This is a different color, of course, but you can definitely see lots of sparkle in that yarn. And this is made up of, it's written, I think, in Greek, but it's 53% cotton, and I'm going to guess 43% acrylic, and then of course the rest is metallic. It is quite a soft yarn, softer than some of the other cakes that I use that are cotton and acrylic. I really enjoyed that one. So that's what the two of us are wearing today. Now let's move on to the purpose of today's video. I said last week that I was going to share with you an advent calendar that I purchased this year. Now, this advent calendar was on Etsy. It is sold by Reggie, who has a channel called JHookCrochet. She has a Facebook page, an Etsy shop, and a YouTube channel. And if you haven't checked out JHookCrochet, you really should. She has a very interesting channel and different than a lot of the other channels. So anyway, she was selling an advent calendar, which is called the Holiday Masquerade Advent Calendar. And it came in a bag like this. I don't want to tip it sideways or everything will fall. Now, as I mentioned last week, if you didn't catch it, I, of course, purchased this way back in the spring. They need to know how many people they are making these for. And I purchased it back in the spring. And then because Reggie lives in Germany, she sent these out. She was sending them worldwide. She sent them out at the 1st of September. And the mail was working pretty good. I had it by the end of September. Well, you can imagine what that's like. I know some people that received it and already opened it all. They did the daily thing in October, I think. Or they opened it all at once, I don't know. But I had decided at that point that I was going to do this channel and I wanted to share this with you. So I'm not doing any showing of something before you open it. I'm going to open it more or less along with you. If you've purchased one, I'm not showing you anything that you don't want to see ahead of time. So I'm going to tell you about it today and start opening them. So first thing is you get this that tells you everything that's in the package. And you also get a pattern, and you get a choice between a knitted or crocheted pattern. And this is an original pattern from Reggie. So it is like a paid for pattern. And I have looked at it, and what I'm happy to say is, and I think you can kind of see through, it has a chart in the pattern, and I'm all about charts. Now, before I ordered this, I did contact Reggie and ask her a little bit about the yarn, because I have bought advent calendars before that I wasn't really happy with. And she, of course, couldn't tell me the colors or exactly what was in it. But what she did tell me was that this was a mixture of, you know, maybe stripes or speckled or tonal or solids. It was a mixture, but every skein, and I'll talk about that in a minute, every skein had sparkle in it. Well, that immediately caught my attention. As you know, if you've watched me, I'm all into my sparkles. So this is what you get in the package. You get 24 20-gram mini hanks, 24 for every day of December up to Christmas. These are hand dyed in exclusive colorways and packed in 24 individual bags for the 24 days of Advent. Some Advent calendars only do 12 days, like 12 days of Christmas. Some only do the 4 weeks of Advent, so you get 4 for each. It's each Sunday prior to Christmas. But this one is 24, so it's a little more money. But you get enough to make a full scarf. Now, 20 grams, that's a fifth of a regular hank, which has 100 grams. So I have to guess each hank has about 80 meters in it, because a 100-gram hank has 400 meters in it. You also get some extras, and I'll show you those extras in a minute. And you also get a pattern. So I'm getting 24 minis, 1 full-sized hank, a few little extras, and a pattern. So I thought that was a really good deal. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the extras, and they came in this little party bag. We're celebrating. And I will show you day 1 and day 2 of the mini hanks. So let's start out. We get this lovely sort of metal tin canister that opens, and it has a candle in it. And it says, I don't buy a lot of scents because I find people are allergic to things or sensitive to things, but of course this is a candle be in my own home, so nobody else can be bothered. But when I do buy scents, my 2 favorite are jasmine and vanilla, and this one happens to be jasmine, and it smells very, very nice. I like also that when you're done burning it, you can cover it up so it looks nice when you don't have to look at the dirty candle wick. So I might burn that in here sometimes when I'm doing my video. Very nice, and very nice canister. Next we have, I'm going to guess this is hand cream. Yes, and it's natural green. It has some name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It says it's honey. So that's really nice. And everything on the back looks to be some other language, Hebrew or oh, it's even got a seal on the top. You can tell I haven't opened it. Seal on the top. And let's try a little bit. You know, when we are stitchers, our hands are always kind of dry. Oh, that's very pleasant. Actually, it honestly smells like honey. I've had others that say they're honey, and I don't smell anything. But I really can smell honey in it, and it feels good, and it goes in. It doesn't leave my hands feeling greasy at all. So that's a very nice item for us knitters and crocheters, and I'm going to keep that on my little tray where I work. And then we have something wrapped up here. Wrapped in tissue. Feels like might be a, ooh, sparkly. It's a little pin. It could be a shawl pin or a pin you put on your jacket. Can you see? Sparkly. Definitely my kind of thing, sparkly. I could put it on, especially I have a black scarf, and that would really show up on my black scarf, or a bright red. Very pretty, and delicate. I don't want to lose that. Put it back in the tissue for now, or it'll get lost amongst everything here on the table. And finally, because this is called the Holiday Masquerade Advent Calendar, it has a mask. And the mask is nicely protected in this plastic. And I was reading the instructions, and it says at the end, if we make this masquerade shawl and post a picture wearing our masquerade mask, won't look too good over my glasses. Here, let me take the glasses off. And actually, you could wear this either way, depending on what you're wearing. Is that ever neat? That's a very different touch, and I really, really like it. I can't wait to finish the actual pattern. I'm guessing we'll have lots of sparklies in it that will go with this mask. Does that mean we're going to have a lot of darker colors? I don't know. We won't know until the very end what kind of colors we have in our package. But that is a very interesting and fun touch. I like it, Reggie. Now, in the package, we have this big one that is starting to come apart, and that one doesn't get opened until Christmas Day. And then we get all these others, and one thing I did notice when I originally pulled out my piece of paper, some of the labels stuck to it, so I had to go in and get the labels put on it. But during the week, I'm going to place all of these out here on the table so that each week, every Thursday, I'm going to have the next 7. And I will probably open them each day and show them to you, and then only open Thursdays on Thursday. So I will place all of these out here in order. They're all numbered very nicely. And you can tell that... excuse me, I haven't opened these. They're nice and tight, but I have opened 1 and 2. So here's number 1. And look at the sparkles. A nice combination of a peachy color and orange into cream. And I know you can see that sparkle. Yep, see the sparkle? And this is very soft. I'm going by memory, but I'm almost positive they said that this was a merino and nylon blend. What percentage, I don't remember. Merino and nylon blend. Very, very soft. I'm really happy with the feel of this yarn. And that's quite an interesting, pretty color. And this second one obviously goes with it. So I'm going to guess, this is number, can you see it? Number 2. It's over here. There it is, number 2. And these are nice little burlap bags. These stickies will come off quite easy, and I'll be able to use these for something else. Oops, we're coming apart here. But the next one is sort of orange, and it goes with the, and I would call it a tonal, goes with the orange that's in this one. So you can see that they're working on a progression that they each match or blend with the previous color. So it's going to be interesting to see how these progress. And of course, you know, I'm going to be watching to see if we get some blues and purples farther on. And of course, Christmassy colors, although this isn't called a Christmas calendar, it's called a masquerade calendar. So I think it's going to have lots of nice, bright, colorful skeins of yarn. So I'm really looking forward to see how this goes, because already it feels nicer and it looks nicer than the ones I've had in the past. So good job so far, Reggie, and I'm looking forward to unveiling this as the month proceeds. And I know Reggie worked with, I think it was Barb who dyed these. And I will have these all out ready to go. And I'm going to lay these in order on a tray or something as we progress. And I'll wait until close to the end of the month. If not, even I may wait till after Christmas and I've seen everything before I start on making the shawl. We have until the end of January to finish it and get in the little bit of a competition that she has. So that's the beginning of my Advent calendar. Looking forward to finishing it. And I will use great restraint, which I never do, to open these as the month proceeds. Okay, I told you to be a little bit of everything today. So we've talked about what I'm wearing. We've looked at the Advent calendar, which will be continuous through the month. And next I want to show you something entirely different. This channel isn't about. But those of you that watched my very first video know that I haven't always been into crochet. I mean, I learned to crochet 40 years ago, or almost 40 years, no, 50 years ago almost. But I never did much with crochet after I learned to crochet. And in the late 70s, I happened to get into some other needle crafts. And the big one for me was cross stitch. I became a cross stitcher, and that was my favorite of all. I mean, I did lots of other crafts and needlework items, but cross stitch was my thing. To the point that I actually had a cross stitch retail store where I sold all the supplies, material, patterns, and all the rest of the other things you need to cross stitch. So I'm going to start decorating for Christmas this coming weekend. And for me, decorating just means getting out my various cross stitch pictures and getting them hung on the wall. I don't put up a tree because I have cats and I don't have space for it. And I don't really have visitors to see my tree. So I put up my cross stitch pictures that I enjoy to look at. So today I thought I would show you some of my Christmas cross stitch, although there were one or two exceptions. The very first one I want to show you, just to show some differences, is that one of the ones I made was what was called a big stitch. There we go. This picture inside the mat from side to side measures 23 inches. I can't do the, almost 10, almost 40, 30 centimeters. Anyhow, this is done on what is called a large count. Most cross stitch is done on 14 count or 16. This is done on 11 count. So it's quite large. It's the only thing I ever did in large stitch because I'm not a fan of it. But I really, really enjoyed doing this one. So that hangs on the wall in my family room, as you can see. Then, this one isn't a great example, but I did a combination of cross stitch and stamping. And there was a charm on here, and I see this year when I got it out, the charm, which was very fragile. It was a snowflake, broke off. But there is a combination. You could buy these patterns with stamping and cross stitch. And it's small, you can tell. It's smaller than my iPad. Also, at the very beginning when I first started, I stitched on what everybody starts on. It's called Ada. Black is hard to stitch on because you can't see the squares, the holes as easily. Some people advise that you put a white towel on your lap while you're doing this. I loved it. I loved the look of it because it had the opal. I don't know if you can tell. See, it has a shimmer to it. And this one I had to, I started and I had to take half of it out because I had made a mistake and the lines were off. So that wasn't fun on black. But I finally persevered and finished it. And I still like it. But it's one of the few that I still have on Ada. I eventually stop stitching on Ada when I found out there were nicer fabrics to stitch on. Then, this is not cross stitch, but I did it at the same time I discovered cross stitch, and it is one of my Christmas ones. And this is called Stitch and Stuff. So there are a few embroidery stitches on the blanket. The sheep or the lamb is totally French knots up here. And then you stitch around the various figures, like the animals and the angel and the baby, of course, and the straw. And then you cut the back that has straight stitches on it, and you stuff it. So I don't think you can tell, but this has stuffing behind it to bring it out and make it 3D. So that's one of the Christmas pictures that I put on the wall. I never did another one like this, but it was just brand new to me and I wanted to try it. And then finally, a couple of my favorite pictures. This one is fairly recent. I maybe finished it 4 or 5 years ago. And it's the antique Christmas scene, books and gifts. And this is stitched on, it's not a linen, but it is what they call an even weave. And the fabric actually has a teeny bit of a shiny finish to it, which wouldn't show in the picture. Very busy in the windows, so time consuming in that part. But I really like the antique looking picture, and I believe this is a pattern that came from the UK. I think it's a heritage cross stitch pattern. And a couple of others that are very different. They're both the same. This come from the same company, and they are done on a bigger weave, but they aren't all cross stitch. They have specialty stitches in them. And I think this is a 10 count weave, and it's called Christmas Heart, of course. And this company, whose name I can't remember right now, did a whole series of hearts, and I've probably done 5 or 6 of them. Plus they do a really nice wedding one, which I made for my niece when she got married a couple years ago. So there's the Christmas heart. You see the holly going up through there. And then the other one is more winter, and it's called the snowman heart. Again, the same fabric. And they're fun to do because they have a variety of different stitches. They go fairly quick because they are large. And then the last one I want to show you, and this is my favorite, maybe not my favorite all-time picture, but it comes close. And before I show you my finished product, I want to show you the picture that I was using. This was in a magazine, Stitch World, I think it was called. And I saw this and I really liked it, but I wanted it to look a little more Christmassy than this. So I went looking for every different color. This is done with a variety of stitches and a variety of fibers. They do have that in cross stitch. There's a company called Rainbow Gallery that believes if you're doing Santa's boots, you should have patent leather. And if you're doing his whiskers, you should have something fluffy. So they have all kinds of different fibers to stitch with. So I went looking for every red I could find, and I got a green fabric to put it on. So instead of this, which to me is kind of pale, here's what I did. The only non-red is a little bit of gold, and the star, of course, is gold, and these are different gold metallics. They look like they're white gold, but if you get up close, you can see they are gold. And of course, the pot, I had to get brown. But all the others, see, this is really fluffy, and this is metallic. This is regular floss that's cross-stitched. There's a different metallic up here. And some golds in it. And every row is a different fiber or a different stitch. And so that sits on my wall at Christmas time. But I've always kept this nearby so that people could see the difference, because I think this is so much more eye-catching. And I really enjoyed doing it. So those are some of the things that are going to go on my wall for Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. I may do another episode way months from now on some of the other cross stitch in my house that I have done, because I have some really beautiful pieces. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode again. So what's planned for next week? Of course, we are going to open more of the little Christmas sacks to see what yarn is coming. We will do from 3 through to 9, because next week is December the 9th, getting close to Christmas. And then for the rest of the video, we're getting close to Christmas, so I thought I would get out some Christmas items that I've made and share those with you. So I hope you will join me to see the Christmas items and more of the Advent calendar next week. And until then, happy hooking.